When I was very young, the Earth Empire controlled the skies. The Tsar and his battle fleet saw everything, knew everything, punished everything. Those of us in the colonies never imagined there could be another way. But then, the real slaughter began. Now there are thousands like me, veterans of the League of Free Worlds, who yearn to fight against the savage empire. Famous victory at the Battle of Benet gave us confidence and the time to strengthen our fleet. And it gave our leader, the Father, some reason to believe in the future.
Hello, future viewers, welcome to this Colony Wars playthrough. I'm Regdrin, and I will do my best to show you everything I reasonably can about this game. It was made by Psygnosis, a British game developer, in 1997. Well, it has some interesting stuff in its menus. For example, you can manually select the gameplay demos that you get if you leave the game running on its own. But let's start the game proper.
The Navy was stretched across the star systems, governing and oppressing, then transporting its spoils back to Earth. The League was small and tightly knit, able to hit the Navy hard and quick before disappearing into darkness. But when we heard there was a new threat to Galanaya, our home star system, the whole fleet felt the cold rush of fear. The Battle of Benet had lifted us all, inexperienced as we were, but now the entire system was at stake. This time, our families needed us. This time, we were protecting our homes.
Game reviewers talked about how simplistic the story was in this game, and they kind of have a point, at least by what the game shows you by default.
It is feared that
we're going to see something a little different when we get to the databases of this game, though. It'll be fun, I promise.
Targeting of planetary zones. Civilian areas are not excluded. Navy fighters are currently on course for Midas Spaceport. Docked civilian transports are believed to be the target. Serious potential civilian damage. Cargo destruction is also likely. The installed defense grid cannot be used due to proximity of civilian craft. Navy incursions within Galanaya system are unacceptable. Intercept and destroy all enemy craft. Civilian vessels must be protected.
Well, like many 4X games, it seems that their victory condition is to just wipe out planetary populations. And I see that a lot in space games. Sword of the Stars is a big one, but I'm sure there are others. Anyway, it's all really horrific stuff, as you can imagine. This is the loading screen. We're going to see it quite a few times. The good news for us is that the only fighters they could send this far in are these really tiny, fast-moving, but poorly armed guys. Of course, the fast-moving is a problem, which is why we have stun missiles. Stun missiles are great, especially for targets like this. This is not something like a 4-second stun. You can pretty easily destroy almost anything if you land this missile on them. Also, we have specialized weaponry. We have the anti-shield missile, or laser. The anti-shield missile is also a thing, but anti-shield lasers and then hull-destroying lasers. the anti-shield laser does nothing to the hull, and the anti-hull laser does almost nothing to shields. So you can't just brute force your way through it. Also, your projectiles, especially with those lasers, are really slow, so you have to get very close to have a good chance at landing hits, especially against these smaller things.
Docking sequence
Well,
initiated.
About your choice of fighter, you don't get one. Ever. The fighter that reaches the battlefield is the one they could send that could get to the battlefield in time to make a difference. If you're really lucky, it's also a fighter that's suited for the mission that it's going on. There's a couple of exceptions, but the general idea is you have what can reach the situation.
Are resulting in major skill shortages throughout.
You also don't get to select the loadout.
Scientists and engineering staff are required for urgent interbase transfer. Dedicated staff transport networks now established. Network inspectors within Acheron Zone report potential threats to skilled flight craft technicians in convoy from Midas. Destination classified. Enemy cells in vicinity known to favor use of anti-civilian aggression. This convoy is regarded as a high-risk target. Join the convoy as armed backup. You are clear to engage hostile craft. Use absolute aggression. Ensure safe passage for civilians.
These missions are, well, they're kind of tutorial missions on the basic operations. They also take place within Gallinire, which is the League's central home system, so the message is pretty clear. This place is not secured.
Enemy presence.
You can't go from one planet to another without things like this happening. Oh, capital ships use green lasers instead of the specialized ones, and they're effective on both shields and hull. Also, since I haven't played this game in a while, I haven't quite developed the muscle memory for which buttons do what yet. So you're gonna see me fumble around with those a little bit. Hopefully that'll decrease as time goes on. Also, anti-missile flares are a thing. The small, long-range scout craft don't have them, but anything bigger than that might just foil your missiles.
Nice shoot!
Generally, the closer you are to them when you fire it, the better your chances of landing it, and missiles are really powerful in this game. The game makes up for it by having, later on, large numbers of fighters, and sometimes infinitely respawning fighters, depending on what the mission is. Not this mission, thankfully.
Detected in the area.
This gets more fun by the minute.
I hate it when I have really enthusiastic wingmen. It sounds like the sort of person who would get us all into pretty serious trouble. Also, those are pretty nice sound and visual effects when you hit an enemy's hull with a laser, especially for its time. Remember, this is PlayStation 1 stuff. Also, speaking of good missiles, anti-shield missiles, those are not a slap on the wrist. When one of those connects on an enemy craft, the shield is just gone. One of the mistakes I made the first time I played this game was not using those missiles enough. I figured I only get a couple of each kind, so I might as well not bother. Except they're just so good, you might as well throw them out. And that's that.
Area clear. Mission complete.
Even though the civilian captain complained a bit, there's no need to worry. Fortunately for my shaky piloting skills, this game has no real ranking system per mission. You either complete it or you don't. I'm going to be doing these missions in sets of 3. Well, most of the time. a lot of these missions are pretty short.
Increased Navy hostility now resulting in violent outbreaks deep within Gallinaire system. All available League resources are recalled in systems defense. Warp hole entry data indicates frequent Navy clusters entering illegally. Enemy personnel count within Gallinaire is high and ascending. Current prisoner of war holding facilities are inadequate. Large-scale POW transfers in progress. Captured assault forces in transport between Proteus and Midas have been subject to intensive Navy scanning signals. Risk of Navy interference is high. Escort this prison bay and supply full response capabilities. These prisoners must not escape. Accept no Navy aggression. You have permission to engage enemy on site.
Considering the things that have been going on in this war, I'm a little surprised. It seemed optimistic to think that they wouldn't just shoot prisoners by this point. Well, then again, who knows where we're taking these people.
Enemy presence detected.
I'll get one, you get the other.
I mean, I could get both of them, but sure, if you want to make it a little faster. I think these two fighter pilots jumped the gun a little bit. Fortunately, the game doesn't launch a missile the moment you press the button. Pressing the button makes you lock on, and then you press it again to fire. That helps to prevent wasting missiles. This isn't Ace Combat. You don't get 50 of them. Oh, we were just hit by a capital ship beam.
Target and destroy.
There's two ways to deal with this situation. One is to shoot the escape pods before the Navy frigate can catch any of them. But you have to be pretty well positioned beforehand to pull that off, and unfortunately I didn't. And that's the other way. While taking on a capital ship with a small fighter like this is a little daunting, the way you do it is you stay pretty close. Preferably so that only one of the ship's defensive guns can shoot at you. They're not that strong, especially not compared to their beam. So you want to stay pretty close to the capital ship you're firing at. As long as you're close, the beam can't fire at you. Or at least, that's what I thought. At the very least, it fires a lot less frequently.
Hull status critical.
And just in case you were wondering, no, that thing is not dodgeable. It almost acts like a time limit for how long you can fight a capital ship. And no, your shields do not auto-recover in this game. No one's does. That's not how shield tech works. Just so you know. That mission was also, for most people, the game telling them that no, you actually don't have to succeed at every mission to continue the game. You don't get a game over. In fact, at this point in the game, you don't even change the story if you lose. But that only applies for the first 3 missions. And now that that's done, we've got the first 3 down. I guess we can call that the first act of the game. Normally, this is where I would show you the way that the plot can branch out depending on your performance. But since that doesn't happen with the first act, we'll just call it a day gameplay-wise. But I'd like to show you a little history lesson in story. The system database in this game it's something special. This is information on the entire system.
Gallinaire is the home system of the League of Free Worlds. All planets within the system are loyal to the League, although a significant number of colonial assassins are known to be working within the system with the intention of destabilizing the uprising. Certain details regarding the organization and history of the League are withheld for security reasons. Other details may have been subject to data wiping by the Earth Empire, as Gallinair is regarded as the Earth's primary military target.
And these things provide a whole lot of context and side information.
Gallinair was colonized between 4405 and 4517 AD. The Forward to Gallinair group was founded in 4387 by a consortium of Earth's leading scientists and industrialists. They were concerned that the colonization program did not include sufficient investment in the creation of new food sources. Information gathered by the FA-469 research probe suggested that Gallinair would provide ideal sites for the generation of protein-rich foodstuffs. The consortium lobbied for the system's colonization until the plan was accepted in 4393 AD. It seems unlikely that Gallinair met the Empire's expectations, as only the planets Benet and Acheron were ever developed as sources of food. However, the system also yields valuable processed chemicals and
So that just
minerals.
about covers all the needs of the center of an organization.
Gallinair is under constant military surveillance from the Empire's long-range espionage satellites. Attempts are made to disrupt their readings, but it can be assumed that the Empire is able to gain significant quantities of classified information. Gallinair's defense systems are effective, and yet small-scale. The League of Free Worlds has historically relied on guerrilla tactics in all its military affairs. All other details are withheld.
Since Benet was specifically mentioned at the start, let's take a look at that one.
Benet is a rock planet adjacent to the system's sun, Evan star. Although it was the first planet in the system to be colonized, and housed the earliest operational rain-shine artificial weather systems, its name is now synonymous with the League of Free Worlds uprising. The Battle of Benet marked the League's successful defense of Gallinair in the face of a massive Empire onslaught. The League's huge growth can be traced back to this victory, as can many of its highly effective guerrilla warfare techniques. The planet has become a symbol of hope for all those loyal to the League of Free Worlds. Benet was colonized in 4405 AD. The aim was to create a highly controllable microatmosphere on the planet within which an infinite number of weather conditions could be created. Rainshine Inc. provided the artificial weather technology which was installed, although early models of their system proved only partially successful. Extensive testing had failed to detect an inbuilt bias towards tornado conditions, and a number of important personnel were literally blown off the planet's surface when a wind force limiter shut down in Era. Subsequent design modifications removed the problem, and the Rainshine system went on to become an efficient means of recreating ideal growing conditions for all known vegetation. Benet's biofarms still produce foodstuffs, although the means of production are now controlled by the League of Free Worlds. In addition, a number of the farms have now been given over to the testing of military equipment.
Under Empire control, Benet was defended by a trigger response network linked to a central intelligent execution node. This system has been maintained by the League, although its operation is not completely understood. Certain of the system's functions have remained inoperable, although it is still a highly efficient means of defending Gallinair's capital world.
Every single planet of every system in this game has full reports like that. They're full of little details and interesting descriptions of what technology is used, and of course, all sorts of fun disasters to hear about, like those tornadoes. I think that this database is one of the most beloved things by fans of this game, and one of the most sorely missed in later games in the series. Unfortunately, although understandably, later games don't have something as detailed as this. There's a lot of history and fun stuff in there. So if you ever get your hands on this game, I highly recommend you take a look at the system database and the craft database. There's some pretty detailed and fun descriptions of all of the different kinds of ships in the game. Well, I think that's about it for now. Thanks for watching. Later, everyone.